vlog 287 as we cruise on into Peppermill on a Thursday. I took the last 5 days off from playing poker. It's not been a particularly great start to November, so wanted to take that break and hope to get back at it today. The last vlog as a 30-something that I will do, turning 40 on Saturday. Kind of exciting. Gonna have some friends over on Friday, a couple of which you may know from watching this vlog over the years. We'll try to feature that at the end for those who are interested. Should be a fun deal. Gonna watch the Tyson-Jake Paul fight, which I definitely think Jake Paul is going to win, but we shall see. And whatever else. So that'll be a fun night. But first, we have some 0-5-10 no limit hold'em coming together at the Peppermill. Looking at the list, not sure if it's going to be a great game or not, but I'd sure like it to be. By the way, I got to start off vlog 287 by commenting on a topic I brought up in vlog 286, and that is Terminator 1, the 40th anniversary. I had to watch it again, and after doing so, I have reaffirmed my opinion that it is not better than Terminator 2, but it's still a really good movie. I love the scene when Arnold is buying a whole bunch of guns, Uzi 9mm, and then he has to ask for a futuristic plasma gun in there as well, kind of forgetting what year it is. Anyway, I jump into the second 0-5-10 game, which would start just before noon on table 5. Things look pretty good in terms of the lineup, but it actually wouldn't last. We'd get one guy who gives a lot of action table changing out of the game, and then two OMCs who don't give any action table changing into it. So I'd get on the move list early. Unfortunately, over the first hour at table 5, I wouldn't win a single hand. The only time I'd flop the best hand, I'd misplay it and allow Bomb Pot Blue to go runner on me for a flush. I was stuck about 250 or so out of the gate when this hand would happen. It would involve a young pro who I think lives long stints in the casino. Not something I envy. We'd also get Johnny Utah, a young tech guy who resembles the Point Break character. I'm in the under the gun +1 position with kings and open to 35. Utah's in the low jack and he 3-bets me to 100. The pro in the cutoff certainly knows that Utah is going to be capable of 3-betting me light, and he 4-bets him to 250. So obviously this provides me with few choices. I don't love just calling and playing a 3-way pot out of position against two tough players. So with 750 left in my stack, it becomes a jam. Utah folds, and I'm hoping the pro thinks about it for at least a little with a hand like jacks or tens, but I think it would become pretty clear he didn't have either one of those, as he'd fold instantly. Ms. T was on my immediate right in this game, and I'd look over to see her flopping a full house with Jack Deuce. What a beast she is. I'd lose back $130 to Utah when I'd open Ace 5 of diamonds hitting an ace, but in a not very shocking development, I'd find myself outkicked. And it was at that point where I'd get called for the table change. So I'd go over to table 1, seat 3, and the first hand would come when we'd get a limp from early position. And my first thought was that this guy wanted to limp raise, proving that while I occasionally can read people right, this was not one of those times, as you'll soon see. Anyway, thinking that might have been what was happening, I would just over limp with, once again, Ace 5 suited, this time spades. And one guy over limps with the rock checking. So with 40 in, the board comes out Ace 3-6 with one spade. Under the gun, bets out for 40 here. And I certainly have a standard call. Other two guys go out, so with 120 in, the turn is the Ace of Hearts, giving me trips. He checks, and I didn't see a point to just checking back here. Might as well try to get some value. I bet 80, which, with a 5 kicker here, certainly may have been too much to try to get called by weaker hands. He would then show 3-6 for a flopped 2 pair that got counterfeited, showing that my read of the pre-flop limp raise was definitely dead wrong. That was the only pot I'd win in a 2-hour period of time. It was miserable. Small pot after small pot, I just kept finding myself losing. And to add insult to injury, I would have to hear Reno Grinder brag about how great it is to own a ton of crypto right now. A little later on, I'd actually walk to the sports book, and I'd make a bet. Because I do not see a 58-year-old Mike Tyson being able to beat Jake Paul in this fight that's going to happen the day after this vlog's being recorded. For some reason, I would settle on a $120 bet. I don't really know why. I certainly should have bet more, but I'll take that win where I can get it. I'd come back to the room to see a question being asked on ESPN, to which I hope the answer is yes. We'd get a couple of limps, including an older woman in the hijack. Kind of an OWC, if you will, even though she doesn't really talk very much. In fact, the only thing that I remember her saying at all on this day was how she was not going to stand for playing Rock Bounty. Didn't she realize that it took me a long time to edit the Rock Bounty open and I want to have an excuse to play it again? Anyway, it would not happen on this day. So, in this hand, 8-9 offsuit, big blind, I toss in 5 more and with 40 in. The flop is 8-9 jack, rainbow giving me 2 pair. I just bet right out with it for 35. And then I start rolling video. I get called by under the gun and this woman in the hijack. So with 145 in, the turn is the 6 of diamonds. I still figure to be good here the vast majority of the time, so I bet out for $125 for value. And once more, neither player is going anywhere. So I'm actually not loving this given the 2 opponents that are in question here. And with 520 in, the river is another 9, filling me up. So now it's just value town all the way. At first it was somewhat unclear how much I should bet, but I figured the optimal strategy was to try to see if I can get ace-jack to pay off on the river, and what's the most amount of money I can do for that to happen. So I put in 300. Under the gun folds immediately. And now, this OWC in the hijack announces that she's all in. And I certainly do not snap call here. I asked for a count. Turns out the damage is $460 more. And this is just a shitty spot. Because what is she going to show here? Obviously it's going to be a full house. It's just a matter of which one. And there's not many of them that I can beat. There's no way she's going to have pocket 6s because she would have had to call a flop bet, and she's never doing that with that hand. So what the hell is she going to have here? It was a disgusting spot. And I would spend the rest of the day being slightly disgusted in myself for what I would do, and that obviously was to call in this spot, creating a $2,040 pot. And I should have just mucked it because she shows pocket jacks. Limped in with them pre-flop, slow played them on the flop and on the turn, and gets a dream river card to get the action. And I go from having a slightly below average day at this point to a really bad one. And if that wasn't bad enough, it would take me hours to figure out the damn Wordle on this day. Maybe the longest it's ever taken me to figure one out, but I'd finally get it. So I was in a big hole. But the good news was, I had my shovel. Well, look what we have here.
Yes.
So this attire. Have you ever gone on a date in this attire? I feel like that would be a sure thing.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to intimidate the unsuspecting. So I just intimidate the room instead.
I'd attempt to come back in the next bomb pot, but not before we'd get a Beetlejuice situation. I just had to mention his name, and he shows up the next week.
Go.
First time in years. It's Cordell Howard. You're no longer at the Players Casino. I gave him the wrong information. The man's no longer in Ventura. Where are you now?
Grayton Casino.
Grayton.
Droner Park.
All right. I have not done a vlog at Grayton. It's now on the to-do list. Marco from Chupoya. You probably see him there. That's about all I know. As for the bomb pot, I'd look down at ace-9 offsuit in a 9-handed situation with 225 in, and I'd proceed to flop top pair on both boards. I'm in the cutoff in this bomb pot, and surprisingly, it gets checked all the way around to me. I bet out for 75 here, obviously wanting action, and sure enough, I'd get it, as the button and hijack would both continue on here. And with 450 in, we'd get a jack on one turn and a 6 on the other. I keep betting for value here, making it 200. And once again, neither guy is going anywhere. And with $1,050 in, I would drill an ace on the board with the 9 to go along with what is still top pair on the other board. I will admit, I didn't see that one coming. I have only $425 left in my stack at this point, and obviously, I'm wagering all of it here. I think it was a case where if my opponents swapped seats, the same outcome would have happened. It just would have been the other guy putting in the money. In this case, the button folds fairly quickly because he has to worry about both of us, and the hijack goes into the tank. He clearly knows me well enough to have a pretty good idea what I'm going to show up here with, but he also knows that I could be putting the heat on him to try to bet him off of a chop. And obviously that's what he's going to have to hope in this situation. He actually says out loud that ace-9 is the hand he's worried about, and he thinks I could have it. So he's kind of onto me in this spot, but after some thought he decides that the pot odds are worth it and he's going to call. So he does just that, showing 9s and deuces, which obviously I have beat on both boards, and I scoop a $1,900 bomb pot. And if that bomb pot wasn't enough, I'd pick up Jack 7 in the next one, and I would flop trip 7s on one board and a straight draw on the other. It would turn out, unfortunately for Reno Grinder, that he had trip 7s with a 5 kicker. So I'd win $500 with my kicker playing on one board and Jack high being good enough on the other. Bomb pots taketh, bomb pots giveth back. Oh, and as for Reno Grinder, I bought him lunch, so the way I see it, we're even. This is a mid-session update. The most recent edition of the World Series of Baseball left me with a profound sense of jealousy. Not for the product on the field. We know those two teams are loaded, and they always basically will be for the foreseeable future. No, I am jealous at not what happens on the field, but what happens when they win games. What I mean by that is both teams have what have become iconic songs that play the minute they win a game. In New York, it's obviously Sinatra. In LA, it's Randy Newman, I Love LA. And there's just something really cool about the feel of those songs right after your team has won a game. This has been something that my team, the San Francisco Giants, have been completely unable to find. Calvin Harris, I think, We Are Giant, the most recent edition, which is not great. And the last song you could ever play in that spot, if you ask me, is Tony Bennett. That is a super sad song, terrible for the occasion. And I guess that's all I have. And this update's over. So after that disastrous hand with the 8-9, I was having a pretty good 2 hours money-wise in this game. But according to this pick, my girlfriend Anna was doing even better. The young pro that I mentioned earlier would table change into this game. I was trying to get away from him, but apparently I couldn't pull that off. And in this hand, he opens to 35 middle position 2 with the cutoff calling. I have Queen, Jack of Spades in the big blind and make the call as well. So with 105 in, the board comes out Queen 10-5, 2 diamonds, 1 spade, and I check. Original Razor follows through with a bet of 50. Cutoff goes out, and I'm certainly not going anywhere. So with 205 in, the turn is the 9 of spades, giving me an open-ended straight flush draw to go along with top pair. I check, and he fires 200. Again, very tough player here. May very well realize that ace, queen, or kings are still good, and if I raise him here, he's not going to fold them. And open-ended straight flush draws may give you a lot of outs, but there's still more cards in the deck that can help you than those that do. So I really wanted to see this river first before going absolutely crazy. Turns out I would just do so in a different way than I was thinking I would. And with 605 in, the river is the 3 of diamonds. So I swing and miss at all of my outs. But front door diamonds have come in. He's going to know that I'm going to have a lot more diamond draws defending in the big blind than he's going to have raising middle position 2. And I'm just not convinced that a pair of queens with a jack kicker is going to win here. So, I choose the other option. I turn top pair into a bluff, making a bet that I'd make with a big flush here. I settle on a sizing of $450. I figured the bluff would work, but I'll admit, he folded even faster than I thought he would. I was then in the rock and would look down at 8 deuce. I was then somewhat surprised to see a guy getting paid off in a much larger pot than it seemed like it should have been when he had Broadway. And I would then pick up pocket kings and open to 35 middle position 2. Hijack calls, and the pro is on the button, and it's clear that he's not calling. And for the second time on the afternoon, he 3-bets me when I have kings. He makes it 150. Slow playing's out of the question in a 3-bet pot here. I'm going northbound once more. I 4-bet it to 380. And in less than 2 seconds, his cards hit the muck. So once again, I'm in the winner's straddle. And this time I would look down at Game 5, baby.
The silver trophy to the Golden Knights.
I'm not going to play it, but you got to love that hand. Bringing up some great memories. I'd get involved in 2 more bomb pots after that were actually somewhat noteworthy, but one of them I do not want to show what I folded in it, because I do think the more I thought about it, that it was a pretty bad fold against that pro who I was talking about when he made a huge raise on the river, and I had something on both boards, and certainly could have called him, but ultimately decided not to do so. And then I would play a hand against Mr. Z, in which I would make a full house on one with nothing on the other, and was able to successfully bluff him off of a chop. I definitely didn't go into this day thinking that I would get involved in like 6 different big bomb pots, but sure enough, at the end of the day, if you're not just talking about that full house over full house hand, the bomb pots were certainly the story, as I'd play for about another half an hour, rack up, and book a comeback win. All right, so I mentioned Cordell's name just because booking a $300 win gave me memories of talking to him. And then he shows up, and then I book another $300 win. A little more than that, actually. $367 ahead on this particular edition of the vlog, which, given the fact that I managed to lose a $2,000 pot full house over full house, I guess I'll certainly accept. Wait, so this son of a bitch and his better half, they gave me this gift.
If you want. If not, I'll...
Clearly I need it. All right, so Marco from Chupoya with a pretty funny birthday needle. But hey, maybe there is actually some helpful stuff in that book. Curious to check it out. Fun night. Anna hosted it for me. Kind of her to do. Hanging out, watching some Mike Tyson boxing with friends, celebrating the 40th. Enjoyed it. A couple comments to shout out from last week's vlog. Ian writes in, none of these comments are useful, including this one. And when I saw that, I actually laughed out loud. Well played, Ian. I legitimately thought that was funny. But then Casper writing in a much more helpful comment. It's live poker. People don't turn small pairs into bluffs. People don't bluff double paired boards. People don't hem and haw and then value bet the river. 3 points, 3 correct statements. Talking about a hand that I am very unhappy with myself about from last week. And if you follow what he said in that comment, you're going to be right way more often than you're going to be wrong when it comes to making those kind of decisions. That's for sure. So always like getting you guys involved. You can write in the comments, or you can hit me up on social media, Instagram at bendeach. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. It's great for this channel. And we'll see you back here next time.